What if you chose to be brave today and embraced curiosity instead of assumptions? We've all heard the saying, curiosity killed the cat. It paints curiosity as dangerous, as something that leads to trouble. The curious cat explores, pushes boundaries, and ends up in a perilous situation. But here's the thing. Curiosity isn't inherently dangerous. It's one of the most powerful tools we have to build better relationships. Too often, we jump to conclusions, make assumptions, and project our own feelings or opinions onto others. Our minds are constantly judging, filling in gaps with stories that may not even be true. And when we operate from these assumptions, we close ourselves off to connection. Curiosity, on the other hand, keeps us open. It invites us to explore, to ask questions, to see the bigger picture. Now, when we choose curiosity, we break free from the constraints of our own narratives. Instead of staying locked in our perspective, we gain the freedom to see things from multiple angles. This openness is where understanding begins. Curiosity allows us to move from a place of reactivity to a place of responsiveness. It creates space for possibilities and helps us uncover the nuances of a situation we might otherwise miss. When we're curious, we expand our capacity to understand not just others, but also ourselves. Curiosity becomes a mirror, reflecting our own fears, biases, and beliefs back to us. It's not just about discovering the truth in someone else's perspective, it's about discovering deeper truths within ourselves. Think about how often we judge or assume without even realizing it. We assume someone's intentions based on past behaviors. We project our fears or insecurities onto a situation. We misinterpret someone's words or actions, convinced that they're out to get us. And here's what happens next. We make up a story about what's happening. We get defensive. And then we either lash out or shut down. How many times have you found yourself saying, "Peace out," or starting an argument because you believe the worst without pausing to ask questions? I've seen this pattern play out in so many ways. A customer assumes that I'm trying to scam them because they've entered their email incorrectly and didn't receive their product. Or women in circle get upset because they misinterpret something another participant said. My husband and I get into fights because one of us jumps to a conclusion without really listening. We've all been there. But what would it look like to approach these situations differently? What would it look like to get curious? Imagine the potential for resolution and connection if instead of assuming the worst, you paused and simply asked a question. What if curiosity became your go-to response in moments of tension or misunderstanding? Curiosity starts with awareness. It's the willingness to recognize our own judgments, projections, and assumptions. It's the courage to pause and ask, what else might be true? When we're curious, we come with an open mind. We ask questions first instead of making assumptions. We stop assuming that the world or this person is out to get us. For example, instead of thinking, why are they being difficult? We could ask, what might they be feeling or needing right now? This shift invites empathy and understanding into the conversation. Curiosity is the opposite of defensiveness. When we're defensive, we're in protection mode. We're bracing ourselves for a fight, ready to guard against perceived threats. This defensiveness often stems from fear of being misunderstood, fear of being hurt, fear of losing control. But when we step into curiosity, we're choosing courage over fear. We're saying, I'm willing to lean into this moment, even if it feels uncomfortable. And that willingness is what allows real connection to take place. But curiosity is connection mode. It's about leaning in instead of pulling away. It's about exploring rather than judging. Now, this idea of protection versus connection mode is something I've learned through studying the nervous system. When we're in protection mode, our bodies are in fight or flight. The nervous system perceives a threat and reacts to keep us safe. While this response is helpful in true emergencies, it's often overactivated in our day-to-day lives. We're constantly on guard, even when there's no real danger. Connection mode, on the other hand, happens when our nervous system is relaxed and regulated. This is where the magic happens. This is where our relationships thrive. Connection mode allows us to tune into others with genuine curiosity and compassion. It's the state where we feel safe enough to be vulnerable and where others feel safe enough to open up in return. In connection mode, we create a shared space where both people can feel seen and heard. This is where authentic communication thrives and where relationships deepen. This mutual safety is the foundation of any thriving relationship. In connection mode, we have the capacity to hold space for others and to truly listen. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully. This creates an environment of safety and trust, which is the foundation for all meaningful relationships. When we're in connection mode, we can respond with curiosity instead of fear. We can ask questions, seek understanding, and open ourselves to deeper connection. I've noticed this dynamic in my relationship with Brent. There have been times when I thought that he needed to change. I believed that if he could just do things differently, everything would be better. But the more that I focused on being in connection mode, the more things shifted. Instead of getting defensive when he asked a question or shared feedback, I got curious. I leaned in. I listened. And what I realized is that when I'm curious, it invites him to be curious too. Curiosity creates a ripple effect. It changes the energy in the room. It fosters trust, understanding, and connection. Think about how curiosity can soften even the hardest conversations. It's an act of generosity, a willingness to invest your time and attention into truly understanding the other person. This ripple effect doesn't just stay in the room. It extends into your relationships, your community, and beyond. Think about how curiosity might transform even the most challenging situations. Instead of escalating a conflict, it de-escalates tension. Instead of widening a gap, it creates a bridge. Curiosity is a practice of choosing connection over separation every single time. Imagine walking into a conversation where both people are committed to being curious rather than defensive. The tone shifts entirely. Instead of two egos clashing, there's a sense of mutual respect and openness. This is the power of curiosity. It transforms not just relationships, but also the way we navigate challenges and misunderstandings. So, brave woman, where in your life are you jumping to conclusions? Where are you operating from assumptions instead of curiosity? What would it look like to pause, take a breath, and ask, what else might be true? What would it feel like to approach your relationships with an open mind and a willingness to explore? Imagine the transformation that happens when curiosity becomes your default setting. Misunderstandings turn into conversations. Judgments turn into questions. Assumptions turn into opportunities to learn. Curiosity doesn't just change your relationships, it changes you. Curiosity isn't just about avoiding conflict, it's about creating connection. It's about choosing to see the world and the people around you through a lens of possibility instead of judgment. And it's a practice, one that deepens over time. The more you lean into curiosity, the more natural it becomes. It's like a muscle you strengthen. One question, one conversation, one connection at a time. So, brave woman, what if you chose to be brave today and let curiosity lead the way? The choice is yours. Be brave. Be curious.